This is Mr. Patriarch. I'm going to be doing an unscripted video, see how it goes, critiquing the NeoPagan Worldview. Now, what prompted this video was a stream that I saw from Academic Agent, the cigar stream. It was titled Social Conservatism in Nature Part 2 with Mike from Imperium Press, Edward Dutton, and of course, Academic Agent. During this stream, Mike from Imperium Press said that he was a neo-pagan. He went on to expound on his worldview a bit and then made a number of statements which I took issue with and I think highlight the general incoherence of a neo-pagan worldview. First of all was his rejection of universality, which wasn't particularly well defined. From what I could ascertain, it was basically that different societies and social structures have their own different morality, which cannot be and should not be expanded beyond their ethnos, essentially. He then went on to say that logic basically is an ad hoc justification for pre-existing social states inherent within the ethnos, biologically, culturally, or whatever. Now, he didn't go into this, but what that clearly necessitates is that logic itself does not exist outside of a moral paradigm which is inherent within the ethnos. It utterly relativizes logic as a means of analysis or discourse, and then essentially makes critiquing a worldview from the outside a basically pointless exercise. He also stated that he believed that the father should have supreme authority over life and death of his family. As the paterfamilias in the Western tradition, according to Mike, he should have authority over life and death over his children. This was brought up during the stream when the topic of abortion came up. What this requires is that the moral law does not exist outside of the self, and that power, epitomized by the paterfamilias, is its own moral justification. But at various points in the stream, he was critiquing the moral degeneracy of Western society. In a comment exchange I had under the video, someone was highlighting the fact that Mike was saying essentially that logic is a post hoc justification for what the irrational already wanted and strength already achieved. From that perspective, logical incoherence is no critique, but simply being honest. There are major epistemic problems with this approach. And I'm not trying to single out Mike from Imperium Press. I think his publication puts out a lot of good stuff. Of course, my boy Academic Agent's most recent book. But it is a thing that I have seen come up multiple times when engaging with neo-pagans online. What totally devastates his worldview, essentially, is when you look at the underlying presuppositions of what he's saying and take them to their logical conclusions. For example, let's take the statement that he made more or less that degeneracy in Western culture is bad. The very concept of good and bad are metaphysically loaded terms, just like the claim that a father or paterfamilias should have supreme authority over life and death over his children. Should is a metaphysically loaded term. It necessarily implies that actions should be taken and other ones discarded. Certain values should be elevated and others discarded. The problem with this is that if you claim morality, what should and should not be done, exist only in specific localized communities, while at the same time claiming that logic is a post hoc justification for animal instincts, essentially, this makes any moral claim impossible. Not only that, it makes logic and argumentation itself impossible. By claiming that logic essentially doesn't exist, on the one hand, but then making moral argumentation on the other, this is a clear contradiction. By rejecting logic, it makes his words meaningless, literally. Otherwise, what is the purpose of him talking on Academic Agent's stream or publishing the books that he does? And furthermore, his moral claims about what should or should not be done in Western civilization. If morality itself does not exist as a metaphysical phenomenon, then his critique of certain behaviors and practices within society are merely nothing more than aesthetic objections on his part. There's absolutely no reason in this worldview why a progressive shouldn't hear his objections to their lifestyle or worldview or whatever, and then say, that's all good, Mike, but I objected on the grounds that you have already claimed morality is relative and that logical incoherence is no critique. Therefore, you have no fundamental basis on which to criticize my worldview, my values, and my effort to see them imposed upon society. This worldview makes not only good and bad as metaphysical realities impossible, it makes logical argumentation, words written on a page claiming a position or arguing against another, impossible. To highlight this, let's suppose a man brutally rapes and murders a woman. Then somebody from a different tribe steps upon the scene to take notice of this. From this worldview, the outsider cannot morally condemn what has happened. Furthermore, he cannot even make logical argumentation as to why it's wrong. Maybe there are cultural reasons why this person raped and murdered this woman. There is no basis by which we can say this is right or wrong, and there is no basis mentally by which we can critique this from a logical perspective with any authority whatsoever. So what are we left with? We are left with total moral relativism, might makes right, and the impossibility of actual knowledge. And that is my fundamental presuppositional criticism of this particular worldview. This has been Mr. Patriarch. Thanks for joining me and making it to the end. If you like this content, please give this channel a subscribe and a like if you haven't done so already. Also, if you would want to support this channel financially, which I would very much appreciate, you can do so via the links in the description for Subscribestar or PayPal. Special thanks to my backers, Burnham's Ghost, Count Elmsley, Symbols, Focron, JNS77, Fresno Pharmacist, The Prudentialist, Skeptical Waves, Nevermore Night, Winter Phoenix Forest Kieran, Holophonist, GC Mitt, and Hominid Ape. Your guys' support is very much appreciated. If anyone wants to become a channel member on Subscribestar, for as little as $2 a month, you will get access to exclusive backers-only content. Once we hit our goal of $100 a month, I'll be trying to release monthly exclusive material for all backers. To everybody, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Patriarch out.